Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday, you lovely gamers! Welcome to Skyrim, the lovely mysterious land of snow and ice sheets and permafrost, where for some reason frost magic sucks! But I have never made an actual frost mage in this game, so I think my favorite time in the year is the perfect opportunity to finally get it done. Father Frost is a simple frost mage who enjoys slipping interesting gifts in people's pockets and freezing them to death with frost spells. Due to the well-known problems with Skyrim's frost magic, i.e. everything in the world having freaking resistance to it, I had to use one crafting skill, alchemy, to even things out for higher difficulty levels. I know I promised less crafting, but technically it is much less crafting than in the last two builds. Just alchemy. I also wanted a classic mage feel, so I can't use the dragon priest mask enhancing frost damage. Darn shame. This is also a vanilla build, at least as far as Anniversary Edition is concerned. Speaking of which, meet my favorite chest in the whole world. I hate it. It makes so many spells redundant. It's in Hobbs Fall Cave up north, and once you reach it, most of your build is almost done. Father Frost utilizes the perfectly balanced crowd control of the Unbounded Freezing spell from that chest, as well as the perfectly balanced Paralyzes rune. So even though his chosen destruction element may be at times underwhelming, he makes up for it in crowd control and the stealthy, clever approach to various challenges. He goes invisible, slowly draining enemy health with a cloak spell. He plants tasty treats of death in enemy pockets, paralyzing them, draining health over time, or most importantly in our case, making them weaker to frost spells and magic in general. With Whirlwind Cloak on and Unbounded Freezing in both hands, most enemies will pretty much always stay on the ground or will be flying away from you. Unbounded Freezing is essentially a concentration paralyzing cloak with some extra damage to it. So with some Paralyzes rune and Whirlwind Cloak, most enemies trying to fight you in melee will be just totally helpless against you. Spellcasters will be helpless because of the Atronach Stone and perk, and possibly potions, and archers need to be disabled with the Paralyzes rune. With all that, there is a learning curve to this combat style, and we don't have much health, so you will pay dearly for any and every mistake you make, unfortunately. I could do something about it with mods, but I want a vanilla experience for this guy, as it is my first ever frost mage, and I also like to avoid enchanting altogether. Everything about this guy is vanilla except the cloak from Winter is Coming and a few armor bits on the NPCs. So let's get to it. The race is a Nord, not the perfect choice for a mage, basically roleplay and aesthetics choice. It is appropriate for Father Frost, because we will be highly resistant to frost. The standing stone is obviously the Atronach, since this is a vanilla build, so what else there is to do? Also, we will grab the Atronach perk in Alteration, so reaching 80% chance to absorb incoming spells will be within our reach, and that can be supplemented further with potions if you buy exotic ingredients from the Khajiit caravans. The attributes ratio is 3 points of magicka for every 2 points of health. You could go 2 to 1 for magicka. Since we do need a lot of magicka here, we use some pretty advanced spells. I think for higher difficulties, a bit more health gives you at least some margin of error, and since we perk alchemy, we can try to always have some restore and fortify magicka at hand. The skills to perk are Destruction, Alteration, Illusion, Alchemy, Sneak, and Pickpocket. In Destruction we take all the Mastery perks all the way up to Master. We want to use the Master level Blizzard spell at times, especially that with high Sneak, Muffle, and the access to Invisibility spell and potions, we can cast ritual spells somewhat comfortably without the risk of the spell being interrupted. We of course take all the Frost perks, Dual Casting and Impact. Simple Ice Spike is a decent tool of crowd control quite early in the game with impact unlocked. Unbounded freezing benefits greatly from dual casting. It gets its range and damage improved. This combines very well with dual cast Whirlwind Cloak, which gets wider range from dual casting too. Essentially, it means enemies trying to get within melee range will be either flung away or frozen solid when both these spells are in effect. In Alteration, we take everything except dual casting, Mage armor to survive some beating sometimes, magic resistance for a fail-safe in case of our spell absorption failing us, stability to make our armor spells and possible slow time shouts last for longer. Paralysis rune is a pretty important spell for us, especially that we can cast it from hiding without a risk of detection, essentially disabling most enemies before a fight, so try getting to at least the Adept perk sooner rather than later. In Illusion, our main goal is quiet casting, so go up the rightmost branch until that perk is reached. However, we may also use the Frenzy rune at times, which is an Adept spell. Invisibility is also used at times, but I basically ran out of perks if I wanted to stay within 50 levels with the build. You can take Expert if you want a longer playthrough. Quiet casting, meanwhile, will solve most of our problems. We no longer run a risk of all enemies surrounding us at the start of each combat because they won't be able to find us. We can use Blizzard spell without attracting attention. We can paralyze everyone before they can even notice us. It's a miracle perk and very much needed for the build. In Sneak, we take at least 3 ranks of Stealth and the entire left-hand branch all the way up to Shadow Warrior. Shadow Warrior will help us run away from trouble in case of the enemies noticing us. If you face a very hard fight or are running out of magicka, just crouch and drink an invisibility potion, roll away, and now you can safely regroup and rethink your strategy. Muffled movement will combine with the muffle effect on our shoes, making it impossible to detect us by hearing. Quite neat. Even if you don't sneak attack, you can easily use the total silence to sneak up to an enemy and plant a poison or a few in their pockets. Speaking of which, we want a few perks in Pickpocket, specifically to be able to reverse pickpocket some poisons. Obviously, paralyzing and lingering damage health poisons are a perfect pick for this. Poisons of weakness to magic or weakness to frost are going to offset the main weakness of frost-based builds, at least against enemies that can be pickpocketed. Won't help too much against dragons, but you will probably need a follower for dragon fights anyway. So yeah, a few perks in Alchemy are necessary and will indeed make everything easier for you, as well as being indispensable on Master and Legendary difficulty settings. Take at least 3 ranks of Alchemist, possibly more if you play beyond level 50, Physician, Benefactor, and Poisoner. We definitely want to make a lot of Fortified Destruction potions, as well as some Magicka Regeneration and Fortify Magicka. It is somewhat easy to secure a sizable batch of very useful 2-effect poisons of Paralysis and Lingering Damage health from Imp's Tool, Morata Pinella, and Canis Root. Fortified Destruction potions are necessary for our peak performance as a mage, because frost magic sucks otherwise, and luckily it is also easy to make more than a few of them from Nightshade and Glowing Mushroom. Magic and Elemental Resistance potions are also much needed. There isn't much room for it in your item loadout. Unfortunately, it means you shouldn't go adventuring without at least a few of those potions and poisons, at least when playing on Master or Legendary. I would strongly suggest getting the Cinderion's Serendipity ability so you can over time make more useful concoctions. Here is what we need in terms of gear for the finished build: the Mage's Circlet or the Circlet of Peerless Magicka, whichever you find first and whichever gives you higher magicka. Shrouded Shoes, Master Robes of Destruction and Alteration, Necklace of Peerless Magicka, and a Ring of Peerless Destruction. As you can see, all these items are generic or unique items with pre-existing enchantments. I wanted to avoid requiring another crafting skill at all cost. Unfortunately, it means there is no gloves or gauntlets in the entire game that would be even remotely helpful to a mage. Todd has decided we need fishing, farming, and countless unnecessary player homes in this game, but 11 years later we still force all the mages to do enchanting, because there's no pre-enchanted clothing items for shoes and gloves. Get your stuff together, for Christ's sake, man! Another freaking mod I know I need to make, but I will never have the time to make it. It's just, you lazy f***.
so we removed 9 million videos, which is good.
Whew, Jesus. Anyway, Master Robes of Destruction and Alteration come from Arcane Accessories creation and are perfect for this build, using mainly the spells from those two schools. Muffle on the Shrouded Shoes combines well with Sneak perks, and the rest is basically for Magicka and Destruction. Spell cost. Magic resistance will require potions, but spell absorption will mostly save you from enemy spells anyway. Due to the high cost of some of our spells, I would strongly advise carrying a staff or two, namely a Staff of Frostwall, because it is also a rather expensive spell, which combines nicely with Unbounded Freezing in the other hand, and having the wall in a staff will cut your Magicka spending for this combo drastically. So here's the list of the spells most useful to the complete build. We need to talk more about the Unbounded Freezing for sure. It is a concentration Frost Cloak spell which stacks with another cloak spell that's already quite neat. It freezes people within its range unconditionally. Only enemies immune to paralysis will be exempt from this. It also deals 110 damage per second when dual cast, but unfortunately it also stops dealing damage at random, so you need to stop holding it up and recast from time to time. Basically, casting it in 1 or 2 second bursts is the most efficient way of using this spell anyway. It costs less Magicka overall while incapacitating your foes completely. When you stop holding it up, they will be defrozen, but they will need to get up with the painfully slow standing up animation. If you then recast it, they will be frozen again, and the cycle can go on like that until you're out of Magicka. Doing it to enemies already standing in a frost wall is even funnier and more effective. So your peak combat efficiency is when you first sneak around planting some poisons, then drink a Fortified Destruction potion, then cast an armor spell and dual cast Whirlwind Cloak, and then start dual casting Unbounded Freezing, or go with a Staff of Frostwall in one hand and Unbounded Freezing in the other. Frenzy runes, paralysis runes, and invisibility can all be used to avoid combat or control it even better, and since we have the Rune Master perk, you can easily paralyze all the enemies in sight before combat starts. Do remember that even with all the quiet casting and stealth, cloak spells will always get you detected sooner or later unless you drink an endgame Fortify Sneak potion beforehand. Otherwise, just try to remain hidden before you are ready for open combat and only cast a cloak spell once you are detected. And I guess this is all for this frosty build. Not my most powerful, but still quite capable. It's at least rather easy to get all the required items, and the combat style can be immensely satisfying once you get the hang on the proper timing, the order of spells, and the like. Recommended difficulty level is therefore Master, but Legendary will still be quite doable for the build near completion. Anyway, that's that. Remember to share, like, subscribe, and give me some freaking money with freaking buttons. Told you freaking Creation Club sucks. Where are my fucking gloves, you shithead?